This is part 2 of Simplex-IT's Lunch and Hour, Is IT Obsolete? That was originally done on 15 September 2010. Yay. Okay. So benefits. Okay? When we talk about new stuff, well, what are the benefits of it? Again, generally faster. Generally. If you've got a lot of stuff running on the desktop. The new software features. If they're appropriate, you're going to get them. Energy efficient, for larger organizations especially. When you start talking about the amount of electricity, the amount of cooling, all of that, older servers are hogs. They're absolutely horrible. Plus, if we talk about virtualization, you know, we've got one client, we'll talk a little bit about this later. They've got about 30 servers at their data site downtown Cleveland. Most of them aren't doing anything except running. Okay? And running as in the disks are spinning, the CPUs are chugging along, and the fans are running and they're generating a ton of heat. But if you look at actually what they're doing work-wise, very, very little. There's a lot of value and benefit that can be had from that. And plus, when you start talking about a decent number of workstations, with the newer stuff, you can have the workstations so that they spin down when they're not in use. The monitors turn off. And again, for a large organization, and it doesn't take a large number, that starts ending up being some decent money. Okay? Easy replacement parts because they're just generic. Okay? Do more with less. 2.0 features. By that I mean the Web 2.0. You now have more and more. So, for example, let me see if I can bring up an example here. So, and I'm going to use Doug. Doug Tombo does a lot of work with us as far as on SQL and all that kind of thing. Doug sent me an email. And sent an email that he just did a correction for a barcode thing. Now you'll notice that automatically he shows here with a picture with a LinkedIn logo. Because my Outlook is tagged to my LinkedIn. So any type of communication I get here, whoever is in the list, if I have a connection to them in either Facebook or LinkedIn, it will automatically show me that information, and plus whatever they're doing, whatever their status is. So I have that integration. Okay? How much did that cost me to do? Nothing. It's part of Office 2010. All right? So if I, as a company, am looking to connect more with our customers, to connect more with our employees, and this is not a sales pitch for Office 2010. If you're interested, please contact your sales representative. We'd love to talk to you about upgrading to Office 2010. All the webcam sees are my feet. But there's a number of tools that will do that same similar thing. So you've got a way, because your customers don't choose necessarily how to connect with you. Or excuse me, the customers do choose how to connect with you. You don't. Some may want to do it through, by watching what you put on Facebook, some by LinkedIn. We've talked about that till we're blue in the face. But the tools are out there now that help you manage these things effectively, both as an individual and as an organization. And some of them, yes, Virginia, do run on Office 2010. Okay? But what about the costs? And actually, I decided just to hold off on this one from the tip. So we have to buy hardware. Okay, that's a cost, absolutely. We have to buy software. That's a cost, absolutely. And we need to get people up to speed on this. That's a cost, absolutely. Now, a bunch of other costs, because we've got those Excel worksheets that Ralph put together before he moved away. I don't know why I'm pointing to you when I say that, but you know where Ralph is, I don't know. But the challenge is that now, especially if we're talking about a line of business application, now we have to look for what do we have to do as far as upgrading that, because we want that to work with our new business processes. So there's a lot of expenses there. So I don't want to make this sound like, oh, there's only this and there's nothing more. Then you have to have also people buy into the new stuff, which is not always the easiest thing to do, especially in a manufacturing environment. Okay? Everybody know WIFM? I've used that term before. What's in it for me? If you do not address WIFM, change sucks. Okay? If there is not where the end user can say, well, that makes me happier to use that particular piece of technology. Even if you say the next level saves the company $10,000 by you adding these 2 additional pieces. If there's no WIFM there, some folks will absolutely still do it, but you're going to have a much tougher time selling them on it. The other challenge is NIMBY. Everybody know NIMBY? Not in my backyard. Do not penalize me. Okay, so I better get a carrot and you better not give me a stick. However this change is done, if you do not deal with those 2 issues, you will not, or you will have a much greater challenge of succeeding. And I would even say, if you're going out to customers and you're asking them to buy into new product, new packaging, new services, if you don't have a NIMBY and a WIFM, it ain't going to happen. Okay. For a second, what was it? Vertical apps. I want to talk about this a little bit because this is sometimes a sleeping giant in the background. Very expensive. Okay? And especially in this case, one of the things that we're finding is a number of manufacturing companies that bought the latest versions, patched it, updated, whatever, and then stopped. So they've got the latest version as of 2005. Okay? And now what's happening is they're finding out that they're about 3 versions out of date. They don't have support from the vendor because the vendor, they went with Ralph. All the support people who knew that version are with Ralph at some commune somewhere in Wisconsin. It's a great place for communes, I've heard. So now you're left with this chasm between the last update and where their current product line is. So if you're going to start evaluating it, they're going to basically sit back, and a lot of companies will even say, we're going to treat you like you're a brand new purchase. There is no upgrade path. So the processes support the way we used to do things. And the company dropped support, company went out of business, we've seen that. It still works. Okay? Now that whole resistant thing is going on and all that fun stuff. New systems won't do the stuff the way we do them. And then old systems can't do the stuff the way we want to. The yin and the yang. And here's a true story with a company I used to work with a fair amount years ago. Decided that they wanted to upgrade. They had an in-house customer sales process. It was developed in FoxPro. So some of you can go, oh yeah, that is old. Yeah. They just decided, let's go with a vertical app instead. And PeopleSoft was chosen. Okay? Yeah, TV2. And PeopleSoft is essentially kind of an ERP, kind of whatever. And the decision was made to bring it on board without judging how well it worked with the company in terms of the business process. And it turned out the only way it would work is if it was modified and customized within an inch of its life. End up, the program was a complete failure because you had business process and needs over here, and you had IT process. This is the way the technology processes the business over here. They were not the same. And if they're not, something's got to give. Either the business has to learn to do things differently, the software has to modify some kind of process so that it works closer to the business, or we got to find Ralph. Okay? And again, whatever.
He's in my basement.
There you go. Well, that rumor's true. So.
There he is.
And there's Ralph. Anybody remember the name of the guy who used to do these? Rube Goldberg. Absolutely. Who said Rube Goldberg? Who got it? Okay, cool. All right. I got something for somebody. This is, we just got these in. This is the Simplex-IT. I'm not going to get you to steal it, so you get it. This is the Simplex-IT, latest thing you can hurt yourself with. You thought it was what? Stamp pad? No, it's yeah. Yeah, I honestly still don't know 100% what that is, and I bought them. So, yeah, but I think that's somewhere over on step M that thing comes into play. So, anyway, but what this actually happens, where we sit back because this new hopefully it's not as mundane a thing as toothpaste, but where some process needs to be accomplished using existing software. And so over the years, we come up with this bizarre way of doing it. And then once we're used to that, well, this software works. Absolutely. Now, if you think of that, we've all been in those situations where the dysfunctional becomes accepted because it's accepted. That is the way we do things because it's the way we do things. Now, whereas if you bring a new piece of software on board, and you go to the same people who are doing this, and you say, we're going to have to do this in order to make the new software work. Oh, there's no way. What idiot would do this? Even though you're saying the same kind of process. But now you're introducing it as a new process. Now, what's the lesson to be learned? I have no idea. Now, it's one of those you need to take this into account. The business process and the IT process have to be as closely aligned as possible. Because if they're not, that's where you get the friction. That's where you get the inefficiencies. That's where you get the errors. That's where you get the additional work. That's where you get stuff just not happening the way you expect them to. And this is a week-long luncheon to go through that whole process. But it is critical. It's absolutely critical. So if you're stuck with a vertical app, we can't upgrade it. Because I don't want to go into his basement. So, took a second.
Sorry, it took a minute.
Yes. So we've got Windows 7 definitely works with old apps better than Vista. So if you've had bad experience getting the application to work under a Vista machine, don't give up yet. 7 works a little bit better. Also, you've got XP mode under Windows 7, which is essentially a virtual machine running running XP underneath Windows 7, and that's a legal license of XP for that box. So from a licensing standpoint, you can do that. Now, the only challenge on that is the last line. Windows 7 doesn't run 16-bit, period. End of statement. Okay? So if you have an old application, and Kevin, I'm right on this, right? Okay. Cool. It doesn't happen a lot. So if you're in a situation where you've truly got that old of a machine, or that old of an application, then Windows 7 ain't going to work. Now we can start talking about dual boots, we can talk about whatever, but bottom line. Okay? That's the end of part 2 of Simplex-IT's Lunch and Hour, Is IT Obsolete? You can find part 3, once we put it up there, pretty much where you found part 2, either at bizblog.simplex-it.com or up on YouTube. Either way, I'm sure it's worth the hunt. Pretty sure. Reasonably sure. Well, anyway, look for it.